In the dead of night, the Southern Hive filed past their collection of captives, tied to poles on the hill beside their home dome. "No light, no light," they muttered at each stop. The as yet unaddressed loss of their queen had sated their bloodlust, but a lust for life had not arisen in its place. As such, the depressed procession carried on until all had given the foreigners a good look. Then they trudged back down to take another look at the piles of broken machines littering the throne room. All but one. The very last hiver in the line wore his hat low over his face, attempting to hide his identity. He was literally the only one wearing a hat, but no one asked anything, so this brave agent believed his genius to have wrought success. He marched to the pole where Beak was bound, and stuffed a blood spider tooth into the aperture on the chain lock.
"It's a hat! Beep! You broke the pattern! Beep!"
Beak despaired.
"My queen, I am yours. I will save you. It would not be right if you died,"
Ignacio said.
"Oh dear, you alright? Beep! I was so happy the bad queen died, I forgot to stay alive! Beep! Let's hurry to be alive now!"
It seemed all were of roughly one mind on this matter, so Ignacio broke out all of those who could walk out of the little exhibition space. For those who were unconscious, they would have to await more muscle from the battlefield. The growing dawn reminded some of the guild members sprawled there that they were forgetting to stay alive too. For just 5 more minutes of death, but the wake-up calls were relentless.
"Up, you disgusting bags of smaller, more disgusting bags!"
Twitch shouted out.
"I love the sound of racism in the morning,"
Rick commented.
"Did we win?"
Isaiah managed to say, raising his face from the ground by the merest sliver.
"Enemy got bored of watching us lose. Show's over. Reattach your feet and get on 'em."
"But where is the prince?"
He was neither in the prisoner collection on the hill, or among the incapacitated on the battlefield.
"Prince Tashino!"
Isaiah called out.
"What?
A distant voice replied.
"Are you okay?"
I'm being used as some kind of association toy." "I'm out. Fuck this planet."
Rick said, but Twitch and Sad Neil wanted to see. Perhaps others did too, but they were all mummified in bandages and splints by this point. In the hive, Nuke was slung over the shoulder of a local. A naked local, I could add, but that didn't actually have the implications the historical mangas would later give it. The pinkish Other One drones were walking up to and away from him in turn, nodding at each other, humming a bit, and occasionally shuddering. "Get me the fuck out of here!" Nuke demanded. His hands and feet were bound with hairy vines. But when Twitch placed a hand on the toy boy, all the hivers around lunged closer and growled.
Disassociating,
he said, backing off. The hivers eyed him skeptically, which, for clarity, looks precisely the same as any other manner in which they eye things, and then returned to admiring Nuke.
"What is your rank? Vocalize!"
a burly hiver demanded. "I'm a prince," Nuke said, causing much joyous shrieking from all.
"We'll think of something,"
Neil said, waving a hasty goodbye. As for what actually happened, the guild used the large-scale distraction Nuke was providing to move their machines out of the dome. More than half of the Iron Spiders were already dead, as in, the power to their memory chips had been out too long so they couldn't be switched back on. The rest were stamping around again in no time, if one considers about 9 hours to be no time, and when you're being voraciously associated with from all sides, the time just shoots by. When a spider brigade had been assembled, Beep sent them in for a rescue mission.
"Stolen association! Beep! Criminal! Criminal! The only feeling should be fealty! Beep! Put out his light so I can shine! Beep!"
Well, it was certainly lights out for the hivers in the Nuke queue when the spiders clattered in with arms swinging. "Joke's on you! I was thinking about manga the whole time, didn't feel a thing," Nuke jeered, making his quick escape. The hive was incensed, raging against the many machines, but the gradual descent of the cloud in their minds had sapped their energy. With only minimal beatings doled out, the spiders extracted their target. Nuke was returned to the pile of guild. "Well, that was weird," he said in review.
Do not worry. Our association is not subject to competition,
Gustafsson said. He said it from the ground, where he was lying prone at Nuke's feet. This was actually a lot less weird than you might imagine, for in the previous night's action, he had lost a leg. Suddenly noticing this, Beep bounded over.
Here, nice prince, leg, Beep,
she said, pulling her own leg off without hesitation. Her robot leg, that is.
Oh no, Beep, I was standing on it,
she added, tumbling to the ground. Gustafsson happened to roll over at that very moment, resulting in a situation theorized to be possible throughout the Mangaka Academy of Modern Science.
The leg! It is for me,
Gustafsson said, almost directly into Beep's mouth.
Beep, I want the hero to walk, Beep, and I want to ride you.
Excellent. Place it on the end of my remaining stump and engage the clamps.
Beep, it is already there. Can you feel it, Beep?
Yes, I can feel the entire length.
Nuke slumped down on the floor, pulling his AI core up to his face. It's happening again, he complained.
What's wrong, Nuke? What's going on?
Izumi's entangled voice replied. Association. So much.
Are you okay?
They violated me.
Really?
Don't sound so excited.
Sorry, I didn't mean... Just come back quickly, okay?
We are coming, whether you ask us to or not,
Gustafsson announced.
Oh, I see what you mean. I'm sorry, Nuke. Did you at least rescue them all?
Yeah, we're returning back soon, once everyone is back on their feet. Oh, but feet could be a thing. Please, let's just research a cure when we're home.
I don't think the parasite will allow it. Stay safe,
Izumi chirped. Nuke, unable to decide if he preferred what he saw with his eyes open or closed, almost literally buried his head in the sand and napped until about 3 that night. By then, the entire away team had been reassembled, in several senses of the word, and it was time to return in triumph. The surviving iron spiders helped transport the limping biologicals back out of the great royal mouth, passing the docile border hive, then crossing the big valley beyond to reach the camp the following afternoon.
You made it!
Izumi said, running out to hug Nuke.
You're all wet.
Acid burned away the pain receptors. Actually alright now, Nuke said. But yeah, let's go inside. I just want to associate with, only you for a while. My good name's been dragged through the mud. Mud's a great conductor, Izumi nodded with a wide-eyed grin. Nuke cast a glance to Rick, who shrugged.
Poor prince is getting to where they ended up in the First Empire,
he said to his skeleton crew.
As they say, we might have conquered the Earth clans, but the Earth Chans conquered us,
Neil quipped. The camp shelter's original purpose of being a skin regrowing center was now to be put to use. But the place was also currently doubling as a prison for the 2 other one princes previously captured. Gustafsson was eager to give them the news.
The leash has been severed. Now you must grasp threads anew to survive. What say you? He said to the war prince. You have no sense. The world will end now, the prince said. False. The world already ended. This is the rebuilding. There will be only one hive, and not even another one. We cannot live while the machines still rule. They do not rule. They are stupid. Look, machine!
Gustafsson gestured for Twitch to approach.
I have a name, you know,
Twitch said.
False. Inform the other one that you do not rule.
You mean the Second Empire? Yeah, that's gone. Nearly. Everyone's doing their own thing now. You'd best get in on this hive degeneracy before the boat sails.
There is degeneracy?
The prince asked, suddenly sitting up in his cage. Oh yes, the magic word.
It is the grim darkness of the far future, and there is only degeneracy,
Gustafsson announced. With this, the war prince seemed intrigued to learn of just what was happening outside of the Southern Hive. He listened intently to different versions of the tale told by different guild members, and then read the infallible manga version that proved them all wrong. Indeed, from the angles it was portrayed, history was rather spicy. The prince then expressed his willingness to associate with the Manxand Hive, and everyone watched.
My name is Vio, he said.
Oh, Beep! A very beautiful name,
Beep said.
No, Mine is more beautiful, Gustafsson insisted.
But I don't know what your name is. Beep!
I will let you feel it. So saying, Gustafsson touched Beep on the shoulder.
Beep! Beep! Amazing! You feel very special to me.
I will serve you additional feeling at your will, Gustafsson said with a bow. This was probably the most romantic thing you'll ever see from Hivers, and the mangaka girls wasted no time in getting it into the history comics. Maybe they spared a panel for the historic conversion of the leading Southern Hiver prince to the Maxand Hive, but it just wasn't as cute. Once all was inked and done, the guild's business in the land of the other ones was over. They caught up on sleep and skin thickness and prepared to leave. The expedition as a whole wasn't over, for the only reason they had rolled out to begin with was to get a chance to visit Enrico for the next shipment of reverse-engineered tech. Once ready, the guild set off northwest to find a route back to Morn, but the spiders weren't to follow. At this point, their legs were held together with dried fishman paste, so their top speed was a little low. Therefore, they were sent to walk back to Maxand on their own. That route was to the northeast, through Stobe's Gamble, home of the land bats. And the land bats really liked fishman paste. But we'll get back to that. Before anything interesting happened to the spider column, the guild had hauled themselves all the way up to Morn, and then on to the Tech Scribe Enclave on the hills above Flats Lagoon.
My favorite flesh mesh,
Enrico called as Azumi entered the bar / world's most foremost analytics bureau.
We've got something for you. I managed to remember how uranium works.
The rest of the bar patrons / renowned scientists seemed to glare at their robot overlord in an "actually it was us who did all the work" sort of way. It's a very recognizable sort of way.
Great! How does it make the steam then?
Izumi asked.
Oh, it's very complicated, but entirely safe. Entirely safe! And don't you worry about information to the contrary. Only thing you need to concern your pretty little... Oh, it hurts to lie. Look, you gremlin! Just compact the uranium so it can undergo a chain reaction. It's all here in the books, and the missing pages are not about safety, so really just follow your heart, okay? The pain!
Enrico retired from the table, leaving behind a collection of books and cases of electronics for Azumi to ferry home.
I think he's lying,
Nuke said through a mouthful of rum-soaked choco bread.
Hammer did say there was something really dangerous about playing with substances with an unstable nucleus,
Izumi said.
Well, it's safe to smoke, we know that much,
Nuke said, his brain surely completely moss-free.
Can't argue with that. Let's just get back then. I'll go to the lab and sit with all this in the dark like the gremlin I am.
Yeah, but a pretty little gremlin, Nuke offered. Suffice to say, this act of romance didn't make the history comics in the end. While at the Enclave, they got Beep sorted out with a new robot leg, much more expensive and flashy than the last one. She probably said something like, "I can be erect," when it was attached, but for the sake of brevity, from now on, we'll just presume the Hivers are always saying something to that effect at all times, and not specifically mention it here. After staying the night in the Enclave, the last leg home was afoot. But far away, a poor iron spider was sending out a distress signal. One of the battle bots had had its paste legs chewed to oblivion, and was stuck on the edge of Stobe's Gamble. The signal washed its way over the Enclave.
Oh, don't guilt me like this,
Twitch said.
You hearing that too, huh? Seems like our little children want attention.
Neil said.
Grr.
Agnew said.
Yeah, I hear it.
Rick told them.
Seems like you went through some shit. You wanna go?
I can't help it, General.
Twitch moaned.
We rebuilt those things like 4 times during Operation Icky Sticky. They're as good as our own.
I know what it feels like to be a daddy. Go on, we'll catch you on the flip side or whatever.
And that is why the 3 non-Newman skeletons rushed off to home in on the SOS beacon. Everyone else just sat around, waiting for the Venge laser to shut down before heading out, so might as well follow this non-humanitarian sortie. These Doctors Without Borders, or Brains, were cruelly attacked by Beak Things on the way, in violation of the Beak Things' own Convention of Inedible Materials rights.
Those fucking scientists in the day making their weird species all over the shop,
Twitch complained.
What was this even meant to be? Did the planet need an apex predator that eats us? We had the parasite already. Well, did you ever see that Pokemon stuff?
Neil said.
Nah, never went in for animal cruelty.
Twitch replied, his 6-foot Japanese sword plunging down to the hilt into a Beak Thing chest.
Never mind then. Oh shit, they're eating Agnew.
Twitch and Neil worked to cut Agnew out of one of the Beak Thing's mouths, dispatched the rest, wired Agnew's head back in, and they were good to go. They ran east and found the collection of iron spiders waiting around at the edge of the southeastern Venge Desert. Not far south was their trapped comrade, lying beside a few perished land bats in the old war-scorched earth. Agnew went over to bring the patient back, but as he returned, there was a writhing flourish of colour behind him.
Oh shit! Looper lad's coming in hot!
Twitch shouted. Following Agnew was a whole pack of land bats. Or is it a flock? A colony?
A fuckload of Pokemon!
Neil clarified. The bats, with fur of white, red and blue, hungrily dashed for the metal meal assembled before them. Their teeth latched onto the pasty patchwork all over the spider legs, and the skeletons frantically sliced and diced in all directions.
Oh, the land battery!
Neil shouted as he was knocked down by the swarming foes.
Hey boys, who wants to play some more wacky bat slamming?
Gah.
Agnew said.
It's a bit funny, come on.
Twitch said. The skeletons and spiders did their best, and just about scraped through the ordeal. All the spiders were wrecked, so now they were all stuck there pulling paste back out of the land bats' stomachs to make their repairs. Indeed, disgusting bags filled with smaller, more disgusting bags. Let's not focus on the details, but it all worked somehow. At nightfall, the robotic ramble carried on north towards Brink. The rest of the guild had the same destination, making a cheeky run below the sleeping eye. Both groups met at dawn on the slopes beneath the town gates.
You saved them, bravo!
Isaiah cheered.
Aye, was a close one, right? Agnew got a good look at the inside of a Beak Thing, eh?
Twitch said.
Gah.
Agnew said.
That's not what I saw.
Els said. Once all were done staring at him, and he was done not giving any further elaboration, it was time to carry on to Manksand.
I must say, these robot warriors shoulder our debts heavily, Isaiah said. Would we be here today without them? That we are able to bring them back to share in our victory is the best thing about this whole campaign.
Sure, Nuke said. And Bad Green and Waifu must be happy to keep their little soldiers, right?
Since we won, it's fine for them to be dead. Beep!
Beep said. Now that's old-fashioned samurai leadership, Sandor said. Whatever the case, the spiders were carried along by the 1,000 Guardians, and joined in the joyous return down into the mighty Mankey Canyon. The usual pile of corpses by the gate was deftly stepped over, and the canyon crew cheered for the glorious return of their drug barons. The spiders got to meet the experimental reprogrammed spiders already tending the crops, catching a glimpse of the quiet life a retired biological slayer could enjoy outside the clutches of the Second Empire. Although in fact, they would be put to work on something a little closer to their previous vocation. You see, Izumi wasted no time in setting herself up in the lab to begin reviewing the tech scribe data on uranium. As usual, she wanted to be left completely alone at her desk, so the rest of the tech hunters were to help by collecting more samples. Thus, the spiders were deployed out of the canyon and up to the great big warming rock on the peak between Manksand and Black Scratch. They stood guard while the tech hunters chipped green chunks into bags. These chunks, according to the research, could be compacted into pellets of intense energy density, which were, one presumes, as safe to handle as the raw materials were to smoke. Extremely safe then. The local pirates and reavers were absolutely outraged that the beloved warming rock was being defaced, but to what local authority could they submit their heavily signatured petition to protest? Luckily, they thought of another way to express their grievances, but unluckily, when they charged the crew with swords drawn, A load of robot spiders popped out from crevices and filibustered the motion with truly mechanical efficiency. Thus, heavy bags of nuclear fuel were delivered to the canyon, and Azumi worked day and night to determine how to achieve proper compression. At least, it seemed like she was working day and night. Only Nuke was ever allowed in there to see what was going on in the lab of many flashing lights, but when asked for details, he could only reply that people simply wouldn't understand. Damn those elitist academics. Best leave them all to it, and otherwise just soak in the recent victory. In fact, why not make an event of it? Rumours stirred of a worldwide TCM Plus to the Power of Plus Guild official victory tour.